The day before the wedding anniversary, Ethan Smith messaged me to wait for him at the office. He was going to give me a gift. In the middle of the night, I excitedly drove to his company. At midnight, on the opposite office building, he had bought a large screen, but it was filled with photos of another woman. Outside the 20-story high building, fireworks were bursting, all for her. Cut to the scene. Ethan Smith was holding 99 roses, and said to Lily, "Happy 21st birthday." I recorded a video, and posted it to my friend circle, wishing them eternal happiness. In the next second, he called, angrily asking, "Did I not tell someone to keep an eye on you? How dare you come out without my permission?" I opened the video, and threw my wedding ring down from the 20-story high building. Consider it as a divorce settlement. I was taken home by the bodyguards from the company. Threw it into the living room. Ethan walked in from outside, angrily tugging at his collar, and kicked the bodyguard. "If you can't keep an eye on her next time, you might as well leave." The bodyguard nodded nervously. I got up from the floor, sitting down on the sofa. My back was really hurting. Ethan saw me holding my waist, and smiled as he said, "Stop being so dramatic. Lily isn't as delicate as you. With your tough skin and thick flesh, you'd be fine after a few falls. Never thought you could successfully dodge those bodyguards and escape." After we got married, he stationed several bodyguards around the villa to watch me. Without his permission, I couldn't go out at all. It's been 3 years, and except for the new year when I have to go back to his hometown with him, I hardly had any chance to go out. He even had someone monitor my phone content, to prevent me from seeking help or escaping. I'm no different from a criminal. He sat down on the sofa next to me, lit a cigarette, and frowned. "Miss Johnson, today is Lily's birthday. I don't want to have a disagreement with you, so please don't provoke me." The smell of smoke was too pungent, and I couldn't help but cough to the side, tears streaming down my face. He remembered another woman's birthday, not our anniversary. He looked at me quietly, then picked me up from the sofa, his fingers gently tracing my face, seemingly satisfied. "As long as you're good, I'll come back next month." I suddenly opened his hand, pushed him away. "I'm not a beggar. I don't need his charity." He overturned the table behind me, smashing things to pieces, and shouted at me, "Mist, don't be ungrateful. If it weren't for Lily asking me to come back and see you, I don't want to come back. I've said it many times already. Lily's brother entrusted her to me before he died. I'm just fulfilling my duty, treating her like a sister." She helped improve the company's image, and she negotiated several recent collaborations. "What else are you not satisfied with?" "I misjudged people. You can't compare to her at all. You are completely inferior to her." I gritted my teeth and didn't look back, moving forward, but stepped on the shattered glass pieces he left behind. The blood on my foot immediately stained the ground. Ethan picked me up from behind, and hurriedly placed me on the sofa, then went to get the first aid kit. "Why are you running away? Am I going to eat you?" He said that with a reproachful tone, carefully using tweezers to remove the shards of glass from the sole of my foot. A piercing pain struck, and I instinctively tightened my grip on his sleeve. He looked at my hand with pride, and said, "Mist, look, you still need me to survive." I immediately let go of his hand, my whole body numb, and I could no longer feel any pain. He didn't notice at all. Just as he was about to apply medicine and bandage me, his phone suddenly rang. Lily Brown was complaining on the phone, with a somewhat spoiled tone. "Brother, when are you coming back? The birthday cake has arrived. Why haven't you come yet?" Ethan said indulgently. "Okay, light the candles first. I'll be back soon." Lily Brown suddenly cried, "But I don't know how to use a lighter." I burned myself while trying to light the candles. "It really hurts." Ethan immediately became anxious. "Where did you burn yourself?" "I'll go back right away. But Sister Mist also needs your company." "What will she do if she leaves?" "You don't need to worry about me." "Don't say that. I'll count you as half a brother, and I will always take care of you. She can take care of herself completely." He hurriedly hung up the phone, threw the medicine and bandages to me, and then picked up his coat to leave. "Wait," I called out to him directly. He turned back impatiently and said, "What are you making a fuss about? Lily is still right here." I stepped forward with my bleeding foot on the ground and handed him a small white bottle, reminding, "Don't forget to take your medicine. Ethan has bipolar disorder, and he has a short temper." The vases and teacups at home were always broken by him, replaced one after another. He always takes his medicine when he goes out, just in case of emergencies. He has never been very nice to me. He gave all his tenderness to Lily. He was taken aback for a moment. I took the bottle and hugged me. "I'll be back after I finish with Lily. Don't overthink it." I nodded slightly in his arms. He looked down at me and said, "It's not that I don't want you to go out, but the outside world is too dangerous. Do you understand?" I smiled slightly. "Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary. Don't forget." He let go of me, hesitated for a moment, frowned, and understood. Lily's birthday celebration topic trended locally that day. As an actress who started with a web series, she is quite popular. The entry suspected to be Lily's boyfriend topped the trending list. While scrolling through my phone, I saw the information pushed by big data. I clicked in, and what I saw was a glaring image. A group of people surrounded Lily celebrating her birthday. She stood in the center and kissed Ethan's cheek. Ethan smiled gently, his eyes full of tenderness. The two of them were sweetly together. I gripped my palm tightly. It was around 8 or 9 at night, and Ethan still hadn't come back. I made a phone call. The person who answered was not Ethan. "Missed. Are you looking for Ethan? He's currently out drinking with friends, and I've got his phone," Lily said with a smile. "Wait a minute. Brother Ethan and the others seem to be talking about you. Listen." The voices on the other end of the phone grew louder. I heard a man ask Ethan, "That mist can't compare to Lily. Aren't you getting a divorce yet?" A glass gently clinked. Ethan said, "She simply can't compare to Lily. Staying on, there's nothing I can do. I'll just treat it like adopting a stray dog." "Bro, did you think you fell for her, and can't bear to let her go?" Ethan sneered, as if to say I'm not blind. His brother laughed heartily. "Indeed, an observant person can tell who the gem is." Having been hurt by him so many times, I thought I had become numb. Now, hearing him say he doesn't like me, my heart still aches. Lily warned me, "Everyone knows brother Ethan is mine. It's better for her to leave early." I hung up the phone and fell asleep on the sofa. When I woke up, I felt someone gently stroking my face. Ethan was kneeling beside the sofa, his hand touching me, reeking of alcohol, with a slightly flushed face. "Are you crying?" He looked a bit dazed, staring at the water stains on his fingers. I knew he was just drunk. Moving slowly, not really concerned about me. The scent of his perfume almost suffocated me. He stood up as soon as I pushed him. He wasn't ready, and suddenly got pushed down by me. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist, and I felt a chill on my hand. He hugged me tightly from behind. His words were a bit jumbled. Because he was drunk, he said, "I remember you liked this bracelet the most. I bought you a 4-leaf clover. Don't be angry, wife." I stared at the silver bracelet on my wrist, desperately trying to break free from his embrace. She yanked off the bracelet and threw it at his face, saying, "You remembered it wrong. I never liked 4-leaf clovers." I saw Ethan buy 4-leaf clover earrings, necklaces, and bags several times, and they were all gone the next day. What he bought was for Lily. Ethan was suddenly awakened by me, and he was very angry once he sobered up. "Mist, you live off me. How can you still have the right to get angry at me? Even raising a dog, it should at least bark a few times at its owner when entering." I threw my phone in front of him, the screen displaying that enlarged kissing photo. I quietly looked at him, without saying a word. I thought he would show some hesitation, or give an explanation, but unexpectedly, he got even angrier. "Mist, it's actually that you don't trust me, but believe those false media reports, right?" The hope in my heart slowly faded away. "Lily's birthday. We brothers are going to celebrate for her. Is that okay? You, sister-in-law, If you don't want to go, then fine, but why be so petty over such a small matter? Is it appropriate? I just see her as a sister. Is it abnormal for an older brother to care for his sister? I looked at him calmly and asked, "Do you think there's no problem?" He sneered. "I specifically came to spend the anniversary with you. It's really unnecessary. Just celebrate by yourself." The door slammed shut, the sound deafening. I sat back at the dining table, eating the steak prepared for the anniversary, including Ethan's portion. The weather is really cold. The warmth only lasted for a few minutes right after it was served. The cut on my finger throbbed faintly. I have to go. Late at night, I returned to the bedroom and took out another phone I had hidden for several years. This phone wasn't being monitored. I called my dad, who lives far away. Since Mom passed away, I haven't contacted him in a long time. He started a new family and is successful in his career. His daughter is even older than me. It's really funny. Can you take me away from here? Is that true? Dad is very excited. Of course I can. When do you plan to leave? Dad is sending someone to pick you up. All these years, he has been begging me to forgive his infidelity. Contacting him doesn't mean I forgive him. Mom told me before she passed away to be careful when looking for a man. I didn't expect to follow in her footsteps. I'm trapped. Help me arrange the itinerary. I'll find a time to sneak out. What's wrong? Who has trapped you? Dad will go find someone to rescue you right away. Just arrange the itinerary and send it to me. I just want to borrow his strength, not to rely on him completely. When I needed him as a child, he wasn't there. Now I no longer need him. If he doesn't help, I can ask my best friend. Ethan is not to be trifled with. I don't want to worry my best friend. Okay, Dad will arrange it soon. I don't want to hear his voice anymore, and I hung up the phone. That night, I dreamed about the past. Shortly after Mom passed away, Dad came, with a very tough attitude, wanting to take me away. Go abroad, as Dad says. What future can this guy give you? Ethan was just starting his career back then, and he didn't care at all. I hated him, hated that he cheated during the marriage, abandoning me and Mom, only to return after Mom passed away. I don't want that. I tightly grabbed Ethan's sleeve, shouting at Dad, "He's different. He loves me, and can give me the future I want." Dad saw my seriousness. "Can you guarantee he'll love you for a lifetime?" Ethan held my hand. Our fingers are tightly intertwined. He firmly keeps me protected behind him. "Uncle, I will love Mist for the rest of my life. You want to take her away, unless I die." I tightly hold onto his arm, seeing him as my support from now on, my forever lover. And he is different from Dad. He will love me wholeheartedly. I feel that. I have found the right person. Dad probably realized he couldn't separate us, and ultimately compromised. Young man, don't repeat my mistakes. Men's views on men may be more accurate than women's views on men. Unexpectedly, Ethan looks exactly like Dad. Ethan hasn't come back for several days. One day, he suddenly came home, waking me up from my midday nap. As soon as I opened my eyes, Lily was smiling and standing by the bed. He brought her back home. Ethan anxiously glanced at his watch. It was already quite late, and Lily was still asleep. He wanted to make her some sour plum soup. I pulled the blanket over my head, turning my back to them. I felt unwell, and there was an auntie busy in the kitchen. The auntie was overwhelmed. "You had been lying in bed all day. You must be uncomfortable. Get up and move around a bit," Lily said with a smile. "Sister Mist, thank you for your trouble. I've just become pregnant, and my tastes have become quite strange." I lifted the blanket and sat up. "Asking you, are you pregnant?" Ethan said directly. "Lily has been pregnant for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Our anniversary is coming up." I grabbed my thigh, staring at Ethan. "All right, stop dragging it out. Go prepare in the kitchen." Ethan wrapped his arms around Lily's waist and left the bedroom. I locked the bedroom door, and then lay back down on the bed. I woke up hungry at night, went downstairs to find something to eat, and discovered Lily was still there. Ethan was feeding her pieces of fruit. When Lily saw me come down, she leaned on Ethan's arm and said, "Sister Mist, you haven't eaten anything, right? There's a bowl of sour plum soup left for you on the table." I ignored them and went straight into the kitchen to make a bowl of red bean soup dumplings. I hadn't even brought the dishes to the table when Ethan snatched them away first. "Lily is pregnant, so she can't eat anything cold. This bowl of red bean soup dumplings is for her. You can drink the sour plum soup on the table. I'm here, and I can't eat anything cold either." "You can't eat anything cold either. You're being too fussy. Eating something might help. Lily doesn't eat anything cold at all. I can eat a bit more." He spoon-fed Lily the soup. I felt a pang in my heart and turned to go upstairs. In the middle of the night, Lily sent me the pregnancy test report and also sent a few text messages. "Sister Mist, my brother has been here with me these past few days. He cares a lot about this child. He said, once the baby is born, he will marry me." I lowered my head and stared at the pregnancy test report. Looking at it for a long time, tears fell drop by drop onto the screen, until the screen became completely blurry. Ethan didn't know what time it was, and suddenly returned to the bedroom. Just as I was about to fall asleep, he hugged me from behind. Still awake, we acted as if nothing had happened. His warm breath enveloped me. His fingers lifted the hem of my shirt. I felt nauseous, and accidentally kicked him off the bed. He fell to the ground, letting out a muffled groan. "Mist, what are you making a fuss about?" I stood up, looking down at him, not making a fuss, just feeling nauseous. He suddenly stood up, gripping my arm tightly. Surprised and excited, he asked, "Are you pregnant too?" I gave him a hard slap. "Ethan, I find you very disgusting." His joy disappeared. His expression turned heavy. "What did you just say?" "Lily is pregnant. You should be happy, right?" He looked at me coldly. "Should I cry because Lily is pregnant?" I shouted with red eyes. "Ethan, are you still too afraid to admit that Lily's child is yours? What are you talking about?" I directly pulled up the chat history for him to see, but he still wouldn't admit it. He finished reading, thought for a moment, and frowned, saying, "She's just a little girl. Why bother to argue with her? She was just teasing you because you didn't go to her birthday that day. You're overthinking it." In his eyes, Lily is a naive little girl, while I am a malicious woman who scrutinizes her every move. I completely don't want to argue with him. "Let's get a divorce." He widened his eyes, rushed forward to grab my hand, his chest heaving violently, anger blazing in his eyes. "No way, Mist. Who asked you to bring up divorce? You're just deceiving yourself. It's truly amusing. Didn't you say you wanted to marry her? If we get a divorce, then there will be a spot available. This is just the right spot." His eyes were filled with panic. Holding me tightly, he said anxiously, "I never promised her." I clicked on the audio recording Lily sent again. It was precisely when Ethan mentioned wanting to marry her. His face suddenly turned pale, breathing rapidly, and wanting to explain. "No, I was drunk that day, and didn't realize it." I looked at him coldly. "Ethan," only then realizing you are not only disgusting, but also utterly irresponsible. I pushed him away, and found his pupils dilated, gently leaning back. "Ethan." He had another episode. I quickly gave him his medication, and called for an ambulance. When he wasn't there, he kept holding my hand, calling my name. "Don't divorce me." As the medical staff prepared to lift him into the vehicle, he struggled and called for the bodyguards, wanting to explain things. I already knew he would come, hastily stepped forward to stand in front of him. He appeared dazed. Thinking I was a bodyguard, he tightly grabbed my clothes and said, "Keep an eye on her. Don't let her go out." I told the bodyguard, "Let me stay close to him for now. You can stop following me." The bodyguard believed me without question. I got into the ambulance with the medical staff, finally leaving the place that had trapped me for 3 years. Along the way, Ethan kept calling my name. The doctor asked, "Do you know the person he's talking about?" It sounded like a deeply affectionate lover. I felt calm inside, and gently nodded my head. After arriving at the hospital, I saw him being pushed into the emergency room. I quickly called Lily, and then I headed to the airport. Today is not the weekend, and there are no holidays. The road to the airport is smooth. I'm breathing in the fresh air outside the car window, finally feeling the long-lost freedom. I'm like a bird escaping from a cage, eager to find my own space. After arriving at the airport, I went through security and sat in the waiting room. This scene, I've dreamed of many times. The phone rang. It was a call from Lily. I hung up immediately. The ringtone sounded. This time it was Ethan's. I originally wanted to hang up, but accidentally pressed the answer button. Ethan's voice was weak, but his breathing was steady. Just out of the emergency room. Missed. Stop messing around. Aren't you tired of this yet? I can have Lily apologize to you. I smiled. No need. The boarding announcement sounded. He panicked instantly, and asked sharply, "Where are you?" "At the airport." "How is that possible?" He said quietly. "I told the bodyguard to keep an eye on you." "Where is the bodyguard?" He's going crazy on the other end of the phone, smashing things, and saying he wants to pull the plug and come to the airport. I left the divorce agreement on the table in the villa, and after you sign it, I'll send you the address to mail it back. If you don't sign, I'll hire a top lawyer and take you to court, so you might as well sign it. I hung up the phone without hesitation. The plane took off, piercing through the clouds. The place I once felt trapped in became a small dot, and then disappeared. Golden sunlight streamed through the window, and I felt rejuvenated. After landing, Dad personally picked me up at the airport, and then took me to a villa he had outside. I bought this house a long time ago, planning to give it to you on your 18th birthday. I didn't expect you not to come back with me that year, so it has been empty all this time. Thank you. I held the key to the villa. This was originally mine. I won't pass it on to others. What's wrong with you? Dad saw several marks on my finger. I opened my hand. The wounds on my hand have healed, leaving behind pink new flesh. It's not pretty. It's my own doing. Not long after getting married, Ethan rarely came home, so I personally made steak. He ate everything up, and even praised my cooking. I spent the whole day, busy from morning till night, making more than 10 steaks, and got 7 or 8 blisters from the hot oil, before finally getting them done, to ensure he could have steak every time he came home. I started waking up early from then on, even though I got burned, and my hands are covered in scars. I've gotten used to it, and I don't mind the scars anymore. But when he sees my hands, he frowns. He really dislikes it. In his increasingly disdainful gaze, I lost my confidence, and started worrying about my appearance and figure. The room was filled with my fallen hair. During that time, I felt extremely desperate. I successfully saved myself. When Dad saw I was sad, he deliberately teased me, telling me not to think too much. I specially ordered your favorite spicy hot pot from the Chinese restaurant here. Let's try the taste of abroad later. Okay. The spicy hot pot tastes good. I haven't had it in many years. Every time I ate, Ethan would always be unhappy, saying it was junk food, worried that I would end up in the hospital if I ate too much. To avoid making him angry, I gave up my hobby, and didn't eat it for years. When I saw the photo of Lily and someone eating spicy hot pot on social media, I found it very ironic. Now, I finally understood that he didn't dislike spicy hot pot, but rather, he didn't like me. I don't like him anymore either. I've been restricted for too long. It's time to see the outside world. I started to open my textbooks, relearning the courses I missed while dating Ethan. In college, my mentor said my designs were very spirited and unique among many similar works. I will work even harder. I kept up with various news, thinking about a few standout directions for design. In the following time, I audited classes at a school abroad, and gradually got to know some friends in design. They later introduced me to some clients in need. Based on client needs, I often designed drawings overnight, making dozens of revisions. Every time I wanted to give up, I gritted my teeth and persevered. In less than 6 months, I gained a bit of fame in the design circle, and I also had a stable client base. A friend introduced me to a client. I looked at Ethan sitting across from me. He looked very haggard. There were dark circles around his eyes, and stubble on his face. He pays a lot of attention to his appearance. He would never allow himself to look this disheveled before. Missed. I've been looking for you for a long time. You can leave, but why did you block me? Cutting off our only means of contact? Without you, what am I supposed to do? His voice was hoarse, and he was getting more agitated as he spoke. People in the cafe were all looking over here. Ethan, if I remember correctly, you were the one who asked me to come discuss the script. If it weren't for this excuse, would you have come out with me? There are bodyguards all around. Missed. Are you really afraid I would come find you? He looked at me sadly, like someone who had been innocently abandoned. What can be discarded is me. What's the point of him playing the victim here? That's right. If I had known it was you, I definitely wouldn't have shown up. To avoid him bothering me, I followed his method, and asked Dad to find a bodyguard to guard my place. The cost is from my manuscript fee. I really didn't expect it to keep him away. His eyes turned red, and he suddenly grabbed my hand. Missed. Come back with me. I'm doing this for your sake. The outside world is too dangerous. So I arranged for someone to protect you. If you don't like it, I will let them leave. I pushed him away, and looked him in the eye and asked, for my sake, cutting off my contact with the outside world, and even having someone monitor me, is this really for my good? It's for your own good. You stayed out all night with Lily for her checkup, didn't you? You say it's for me, but everything is hurting me. Ethan, are you completely unaware or just pretending to be stupid? Ethan shook his head, muttering softly, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just love you too much. Accompanying Lily to her checkup was her request, because her brother entrusted her to me before he died. I have always treated her like a sister. There's nothing wrong between us. I interrupted him, telling him, your innocence has nothing to do with me, and there's no need to explain. He always says these words, but his actual actions are completely different. It's fine. I don't care anymore. I picked up my bag and prepared to leave, hurrying to sign the divorce agreement. Seeing that I was leaving, Ethan immediately stood up and grabbed me, pleading, don't divorce me, okay? I won't come looking for you. I remember on my birthday, Ethan happened to come home. I excitedly asked him if he could celebrate my birthday with me, but he blamed me for Lily's sprained ankle, and then he slammed the door and left. I thought of my mother's Memorial Day, so I called to ask if he could come back to accompany me to the cemetery. He said, just let the bodyguard take you. He was out shopping with Lily, buying jewelry. Countless scenes came to mind, and I still felt really upset. Ethan, I don't love you anymore. If you don't love me, then why did you save me that day? I don't understand his thoughts. I would save anyone in danger. I directly ignored what he said. There are only two outcomes for us. Either you sign, and we won't see each other, or you don't sign, and we meet in court. He held my hand tightly, refusing to let go. It seems hard to believe. We've talked about it, that we would always be together. I turned to look at him. You didn't do it. You said you would love me, and protect me for a lifetime. Before my mother passed away, he held my hand tightly, and swore to her. I believed him for many years, and deceived myself for many years. Those beautiful vows couldn't stand the test at all. Ethan was stunned, gradually relaxing his grip, his expression turning frustrated. He was deep in thought, possibly trying to recall the moment he made that vow. I picked up my bag, and walked quickly towards the exit, not wanting to stay with him for another second. As I neared the door, Ethan suddenly ran out from behind and blocked me. I'll give you money. Weren't you here to ask me to write something? Let's work together. He tightly grabbed my arm, looking at me excitedly. My expression darkened, and my tone was severe. I have no desire for your money. He restricted my freedom, and cut off my financial source. I remember last year when I had a depression episode. It felt worse than death. At that time, Ethan and Lily stood in front of me, looking down on me, demanding that I apologize to Lily before they would help with my medical expenses. Lily clung to his arm, proud as a victorious rooster. The day before, I went to the company to find Ethan, and saw Lily leaning against him. I publicly called her shameless. Unexpectedly, Ethan came the next day to defend her. I would rather endure any pain than apologize to the mistress. In the end, a doctor felt sorry for me and covered my expenses. So I came back from the brink of death. I never want to feel like I'm being slaughtered again. I pulled my arm away. My gaze was indifferent. Ethan, you've always been a terrible person. Just looking at you makes me feel disgusted. After that day, Ethan never appeared in front of me again. I heard from friends at the time that he went back to his home country. I thought he finally gave up and went back to sign the divorce agreement. The world finally became quiet, but I didn't expect more filth to come in. Lily was leaning on her waist, showing a belly that was 6 or 7 months along, waiting for me at my doorstep. She knew the bodyguards at the door wouldn't dare to touch a pregnant woman, so she was so brazen. Brother Ethan came to look for you. Really? She looked at me with red eyes, filled with resentment. Why don't you ask him, instead of asking me? I have no obligation to answer you. Do you not believe this child is his? She clutched me tightly, shakily took out a piece of paper from the bag. The test results show that I'm pregnant with Brother Ethan's child. I took a picture of the paper and sent it to my top lawyer to help me get a divorce. What does this have to do with me? Do you have a problem? She shouted uncontrollably. I'm already carrying his child. Why are you still bothering him? Don't you fear divine retribution? I slapped her hard, and she fell to the ground. Stop pretending here. Retribution will eventually come. Climbing into your brother's bed under the guise of caring for your sister, and still wanting to have an illegitimate child. Not being recognized in front of a man, you ran to the legitimate wife to boast. I feel dirty even hitting you. My divorce from him is entirely because I think you two are such an ill-matched pair. Disgusting. Lily held her belly and stood up from the ground. The voice is very sharp. What are you pretending? You're not any better yourself. Isn't this house bought by the backer you found? Missed. You've been with another man for a long time, and you want to divorce Brother Ethan. Is that right? Ethan didn't know when he stood behind her and heard everything she said. He widened his eyes and walked towards me and asked if what Lily said was true. I stared at him coldly, not expecting him to see me this way. Seeing that I didn't speak, his eyes suddenly turned red, and he punched the tree beside him, asking sharply, "Have you liked someone else for a long time?" I found it particularly funny, and said in a flat tone, "Ethan, it was really a mistake to like you back then." He glared at me, as if he wanted to eat me alive. Dad drove up to my doorstep, and honked the horn. Ethan saw the target. He rushed over immediately. "Do you dare to steal my woman?" He tightly grabbed Dad's collar, lifting him up, and punched him hard. "Ethan, are you crazy? Stop!" I saw his eyes turn bloodshot, as if he was about to hit someone, so I stepped forward and slapped him, trying to calm him down. "Are you hitting me for him?" He stopped his movements, and suddenly grabbed my throat, pushing me against the tree behind me, his tone becoming extremely agitated. "Do you really love him that much?" "No, the one you love most is clearly me." My face turned red, and I was about to burst, desperately hitting him. He pushed harder, as if he wanted to kill me. Dad regained his strength, kicked him away, and hurriedly checked my injuries. Ethan was kicked to the ground, and suddenly came to his senses, his expression filled with panic. "Missed. I didn't mean to." I smiled at him and said, "I killed you, but it wasn't intentional. Is that okay?" Ethan frowned, and said, "Missed. Don't say that. I didn't mean to hurt you, or else you would be hurt even more." He wanted to hold me, but I struggled back, and a bottle of medicine fell out of my arms. "What is this?" He picked up the bottle, looked at the words on it, and suddenly froze. I sneered, "It's antidepressants. Depression." He was stunned, and asked, "When did you get depressed?" I looked at him mockingly. The diagnosis report has been sitting at home for 2 years. Didn't you notice? I was confined for a year. I developed depression, not eating or drinking all day, insomnia at night, and I can only sit on the windowsill in a daze. The diagnosis report has always been on the nightstand in our bedroom, and it has collected dust. Why don't you take the medication? You only gave me money after I apologized, right? He instinctively wanted to refute me, but suddenly looked up. Which time? Why didn't you tell me? I stared at him in disappointment. His eyes lost their confidence, and he lowered his head, with a tear falling to the ground. I'm sorry, Mist. I want to make it up to you. Is that okay? He choked up, wanting to reach out to me, but was violently kicked down by Dad. Ethan, you're going too far. You promised me back then. Look at how my daughter has been tormented by you now. Do you have no conscience? Ethan looked at his dad, stunned for a few seconds, and finally recognized the man. Is he my uncle? He seemed unaware. The scoundrel he was cursing was actually my dad. Dad was very angry. Don't call me. Go away. Don't come back, or I'll break your legs. I tiredly went into the house, still hearing Lily crying behind me. After this incident, I organized all the evidence, including the test reports, their chat logs, and transfer records, and sent them to Ethan. I warned him, if he didn't sign, I would expose him in the media, ruining his company's reputation. I've been with him for so many years, and I know how to break him most effectively. The divorce agreement arrived shortly after. He has things he fears as well. This is the first time in all these years he's compromised with me. On the anniversary of my mother's passing, I returned home alone. Dad didn't come back with me, and he might feel awkward seeing Mom. As soon as I entered the cemetery, I saw Ethan kneeling in front of Mom's tombstone. In the past, I would have turned around and walked away. But today, I'm here for Mom, and he is just a stranger to me. Please step aside. Upon hearing me, Ethan immediately stood up and made way. There was a bouquet of daisies in front of the tombstone. I moved the daisies aside, knelt down and bowed twice, then stood up. Then stand up. I'll wait for you, because you won't let me come find you. I gave him a cold smile. In the past, I asked him to pay respects to my mother, but he never came. Now he's actually standing here on his own accord. Ethan looked at me affectionately, and hurriedly handed me a piece of paper. Lily has already gone for an abortion, and she has returned home. No one will interfere with us anymore. Lily has family. I didn't look, and just let it go. The paper gently fell to the ground. Are you done talking? I have to go. Ethan grabbed my hand, his eyes revealing a pleading expression. He said, Mist, I've signed the divorce agreement as you requested. Don't go, okay? At least we're still in the same city. Let me see you occasionally. I pulled my hand away, and smiled at him, saying, Sorry, Ethan, I've got to hurry back to marry my boyfriend. Ethan couldn't believe it. Marry? Are you kidding me? Are you still angry? Wesley Davis walked over from the cemetery, took off his coat and draped it over me, and held my hand tightly, asking me, Why is it so cold? Ethan's expression changed suddenly. Then he angrily asked, Wesley Davis, have you been messing with me this whole time? After I returned to my country, I heard that several projects from Ethan's company were taken, and half of the executives and key talents were poached, leaving it just an empty shell. Wesley and Ethan have been at odds for many years. Initially, I had some doubts about him, but his attitude was ambiguous, neither confirming nor denying. Now, I'm sure he did it. I found out Wesley was secretly meeting with Dad. Maybe they have already started planning revenge on me. Wesley glanced at him, and asked, Is a reason still needed? If they find it displeasing, they'll just deal with it. I leaned against Wesley's embrace, and tugged at his sleeve. It's really cold. Let's hurry and go. He looked down, and said gently, Okay. Not long after, the media exposed Ethan and Lily's affair. There were photos and evidence. Ethan's company quickly went bankrupt due to the scandal, and Lily would forever carry the label of a mistress. I heard that Lily resented Ethan for forcing her to have an abortion, and even swapped his medication for bipolar disorder. As a result, Ethan had a manic episode and almost killed her. Lily, now partially paralyzed, would spend the rest of her life in the hospital. Since then, Ethan's mental state deteriorated further, and he was eventually sent to a psychiatric hospital. On the day I married Wesley, I received a call from Ethan. He was in a bad mental state, constantly asking me, "Wife, when will you take me home? I feel like I've lost something very important." As he spoke, he suddenly started to cry. When someone called me Mrs. Davis, handing me a drink, his voice suddenly disappeared, and then I heard the sound of something heavy falling. The next day's news reported that he accidentally fell from a window ledge over 10 meters high. I calmly turned off the TV. As for the past, I have gradually forgotten. I remember. I'm different from them. I will firmly walk towards hope.